Hey, and welcome back to another video. So in this video, we'll be comparing the Nokia Lumia 1020 from 2013 to the iPhone 12 Pro Max in a head-to-head camera comparison. Now, I have to point out that this is a point-and-shoot camera comparison, so no settings will be changed, no ISO settings, exposure settings, stuff like that. This will be head-to-head point-and-shoot. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has 3 cameras, but we'll be only using the main shooter, to be fair to the Nokia Lumia 1020. I will also be comparing zoom, but in that case, the iPhone is going to naturally switch to its zoom lens there, so I really don't have control over that. But I want to compare the zoom to the oversampled zoom that the Nokia Lumia 1020 had from 2013. Oversampling zoom means it basically crops the photo to 5 megapixels, and it does some genius processing there at the back to get the photo to look like it has not been cropped. It was the technology back in 2013 because this did not have optical zoom. When it's recording video, it has digital lossless zoom, and when you have a still photo, it's the 5 megapixel oversampled zoom. So I want to compare that zoom to the iPhone 12 Pro Max's dedicated zoom lens. If I could, I'd do it on the standard lens, but I have no way to turn off the zoom lens, so I'm stuck with it. So first, before jumping right in, let's go over some technical specifications of each of these phones. Firstly, let's start off with the iPhone 12 Pro Max here. Now, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the single camera that we'll be comparing is a 12 megapixel f1.6 aperture camera, which is a wide angle lens, 26 millimeter. It has dual pixel autofocus and sensor shift stabilization. It's the first phone on earth with sensor shift stabilization. Usually the lens is the entire camera module is what shifts around to stabilize the image, but with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, it has sensor shift stabilization. It also has a LiDAR sensor, so I really can't turn that off. It aids the camera heavily. And it's a part of the camera module, so I really don't have to turn that off because that's the technology in 2021. The LiDAR scanner helps the images with depth and saturation and all the other things that it may need that are supported with the LiDAR scanner. It can record video at 4K at 60 FPS and 1080p at 240 FPS. It records in stereo sound and has the Dolby Vision HDR feature as well. The other camera that I said, the zoom lens for the iPhone 12 Pro Max, was it this or this? I kind of forgot. I think it's one of these. Either way, this is the main lens. Either one of these, I forgot which one is which. But the zoom lens or telephoto lens is also 12 megapixel f2.2 aperture, 65 millimeter with 2.5 times optical zoom and PDAF and optical image stabilization as well. So now let's move on to the specs of the Nokia Lumia 1020. So the Nokia Lumia 1020, the beast from 2013, 41 megapixel sensor, Carl Zeiss optics, as you can see, pure view Zeiss, it says over there, pure view Zeiss, 41 megapixel, f2.2 aperture, this also is 26 millimeter wide angle. It has autofocus and optical image stabilization as well. One of its predecessors was the world's first phone with optical image stabilization, the Nokia Lumia 920, one of this phone's predecessors. Like I said, Carl Zeiss optics. It has a single LED flash and as well as a xenon flash as well. I will also be showing you as to why the dual LED dual tone flash on a modern phone is superior in certain ways to a full-size xenon flash, and why we no longer see xenon flashes in major phones. It's because, just a quick spoiler, the LEDs of today can equal a xenon flash on a small scale like this. Xenon flashes still are the best for bigger cameras, but when you'll see in the camera samples that I post soon that in a day-to-day nighttime photo shot, The dual LED flash does the same, if not a slightly better job than this huge xenon flash. They use 1/10 of the power that's needed, and they do an identical job. So that was the xenon flash, and the single LED is used for autofocus. So the autofocus depends on this LED to bright up the image before the focus. It can shoot video at 1080p 30 FPS and has 4 times lossless digital zoom while doing video as well. And it has a panorama feature as well. I will also be comparing video samples from the rear camera, and the Nokia Lumia 1020 will be at 1080p 30 FPS because that's the maximum it can do. And to be fair to the Nokia Lumia 1020, the iPhone 12 Pro Max will also be sampled at 1080p but at 60 FPS because that's considered the standard today, but the frames will just be the only difference there. Now, I must point out that the iPhone 12 Pro Max will always be using its HDR feature, but Nokia, what they did with the 1020, what they honestly messed up was not giving this Windows Phone 10 officially. You still can load Windows Phone 10 onto this unofficially. However, that's not what your average day-to-day user could do, which is strange because they gave the 1520 Windows 10, but they didn't give the 1020 Windows 10, but they're from the same year, they're just months apart, which infuriated a lot of users of the Lumia 1020. It is in many ways a way more superior phone than the 1520, especially in terms of camera. The 1520 obviously is a bit more powerful and has a bigger screen and a nicer screen. Well, this has an LCD, this has an AMOLED. But I'm not really sure, but I personally feel that the 1020 is a nicer phone. It's also a more expensive phone back in the day, I believe, and now even more expensive than the 1520. But what Nokia messed up is they did not give it Windows Phone 10. And with that, the 8.1 Denim update that it was given did not have a separate HDR feature in camera settings. So you could technically still take HDR with this thing. However, you have to go through a lot of processing using your computer to extract the HDR image out of it. So if you look in camera settings, there's no way to set HDR on or off, which is kind of a bummer. So we'll be taking photos as is, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max will be on HDR. And I believe this will do its best in taking the best photos that it can. And again, like I said, it's a point and shoot comparison, and none of the settings will be adjusted. And yeah, so now let's jump into some camera samples during the day with the Nokia Lumia 1020 versus the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Just to note, the iPhone 12 Pro Max's photos will always be on the left, and the Nokia Lumia 1020's photos will always be on the right. Here are some zoom samples taken during the day between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the Nokia Lumia 1020. The iPhone 12 Pro Max will be in its zoom of 2.5 times, meaning the optical zoom using the telephoto lens. And the Nokia Lumia 1020 will be zoomed in to right before it becomes blurry. So that's about 2.7 times as said in the specification sheet for the oversample zoom. So it's about 2.7 times on the Nokia Lumia 1020, and I basically stopped zooming in right before the image started becoming blurry. Okay, so now for some nighttime photos and video. And like I pointed out earlier, this is a point and shoot comparison. So the ISO and exposure settings on the Nokia Lumia 1020 will be left as they are. They'll be left on auto, and the iPhone does not have much settings to begin with, so they'll be left on auto as well. Okay, so now we're at the final topic here, and that is nighttime with flash. Now, like I said earlier, the xenon flash on the Nokia Lumia 1020 is not as great as what more modern phones can do with a LED flash. Now, the iPhone 12 Pro Max has a dual LED flash, which uses about a fraction, maybe 1/20th of the power that the xenon flash uses on the Nokia Lumia 1020, and it does do an identical and slightly even better job. Now, this photo is a prime example as to why having a sensor that can absorb more light during the night is way more important over flash technology. Because as you can see, there's a tree here, but the iPhone's flash was also not enough to light up the tree. But the sensor on its own can absorb more light as well as light from the flash. So it was able to light up the tree or illuminate the tree better than what you can see with the Nokia Lumia 1020. The 1020's flash did go off, but as you can see, there's no tree visible. It's really dark, and it's the same distance from where I was standing away from the tree. And as you can see, it's extremely dark. There's nothing visible in the image. This is even more proof that camera lens technology is way more important than just blowing out a flash. This photo of a brick wall also shows a slightly better flash performance on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It is also slightly brighter, which also proves that LEDs can now equal xenon flashes, and they can do it with a minimum amount of power, well, a fraction of the power that a xenon flash uses. So finally, that's it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel, and if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as it helps me out a lot. Also, don't forget to check out all my other camera comparisons that I've done on my channel, which include the Nokia 808 Pure View, the Lumia 950, and so on. And now I will see you guys in my next video. Thumbs up.